So tomorrow there's going to be a release after a much long time. The much anticipated Eventide major update from Phasmophobia is being released tomorrow. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Today we're going to be going over a couple of things. We're going to be talking about the new map, Point Hope, a couple of the items, both main and optional, and a lot of the big fixes and optimizations that the game's going to be going through starting tomorrow. So let's go ahead and just read through this. I think I skimmed through a lot of it, and I really liked a lot of the improvements that they've made with the game. So let's just kind of go through it. Let's see. Are you brave enough to become a new lighthouse keeper? Welcome back. We've got an update for you. Due to the size of this update, we have given it the version number of V01.0, even though the roadmap originally planned different content for that version number. The following updates planned in the roadmap will instead have increased version numbers, but the content and order of updates remain the same. So Point and Hope is the new map that a lot of people have been waiting for. There's been a lot of hearsay, and I don't know if it's like leaks or something, but I guess just kind of like hints towards this map coming out very soon. And to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be released during this update until they announced on their Discord channel, on Phasmophobia's Discord channel. So Point Hope was recently refurbished by a young family seeking something unique to call home. You'll be welcomed by a modern extension complete with a hallway, closets, and downstairs bathroom before entering into the lighthouse's main living room. Decorated with nautical knickknacks, you'll be faced with spiral staircases and round rooms. A first for ghost hunters. Okay. This new location features 10 floors, 12 rooms, which is something very unique that we haven't had in any of the other maps. I think we've only had 2-floor, maybe a 3-story room. What is it? One of the farmhouses, I think it's Bleasdale, that has an attic, and then we've had basements, but I don't think we've ever had a vertical map. So that's going to be a new challenge for a lot of people playing Phasmophobia, or at least just in this map. And I'm really looking forward to a lot of other maps that may have like a vertical concept like this. But let me go ahead and continue reading this. So the new location features 10 floors and 12 rooms and unique layout, which will challenge players in new ways. You'll have to use different techniques for some of those pesky ghost abilities, which playing on lower evidence game modes can become pretty challenging, I think. And I think using the parabolic mic is going to be one of those things that's going to be another thing that'll be very challenging to use in this map, but we'll kind of go over that in a minute. Progression. So several progression and equipment items have been adjusted based on community feedback. Player leveling and rewards. The required XP to level from 1 to 100 has been reduced by around 10%, making leveling faster. So players can now level up to 9,999 for each prestige. Wow, that's a lot. I don't think I've ever seen anybody over like 250 or something. So being able to level up to nearly 1,000 is going to be pretty wild. But I think yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, let's continue. So the required experience needed to level up between 999 and 9,999 will increase every level. Next, Sunny Meadows Restricted is now categorized as a medium location. So that's the restricted map, not including the downstairs, or maybe like some of the left wing, the right wing, and some of the other areas. I think it's only going to be pretty much the rooms leading, or hallways leading into the kitchen and around the chapel, which are going to be considered Sunny Meadows Restricted. And so I guess it was considered a large map, but now they're considering a medium map. Increased rewards for correctly identifying the ghost in medium and large locations. medium from 125 to 150, large from 150 to 200. That's a pretty big increase, especially if you're going to be doing like Insanity or some of like 10x multipliers or something. That's a big increase in money and XP as well. Dots. Tier 1 light range has been increased. Tier 3 scanning effects can now be paused by interacting with it while it's rotating. That's pretty awesome. That's one thing that kind of like bugged me about using the tier 3 was that, it was always scanning, and in big rooms where you just kind of wanted to be stagnant, I always thought it was pretty useful to have the tier, like a combination of the tier 2 and the tier 3, so that you have one that just kind of like remains stagnant and the other one kind of scan the room. But now you can have two of the tier 3 and have them both pause in certain directions so that you can cover a large amount of the room. The EMF, let me see. Tier 1 needles will no longer flicker near or past the 5 value during events and haunts to stop confusion with evidence. So that's another thing that used to confuse a lot of people, especially when you play when you're just starting out. Using the tier 1, anytime there's a ghost event or a hunt going on, the needle would always like kind of go crazy and haywire. It bounced from like 0 to 5, and that was always kind of like tricky to identify EMF 5 with that tier 1 until you kind of get a lot more experience using it, and then you start to kind of like discern the difference between an actual tier 5, an EMF level of 5, and a ghost hunt or a ghost ability. The EMF picking up a ghost ability or a hunt. Let's see. So tier 3s, for the tier 3 EMF 5 reading now plays a unique sound. That's pretty cool. I kind of like that idea. One of the reasons why I used the tier 2 was for the sound. I can hear it from far away. If there's a EMF 5 reading on a tier 2, it was easy for me to just listen to it and be able to tell from a distance that would be a EMF 5. Firelight increased the visibility, light intensely, and range for both tier 1 and tier 2, which is another needed improvement for sure. Tier 1 duration increased from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and tier 2 duration increased from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. This could be very useful, like if you're playing some of the, I guess, beginner ranks, like amateur, intermediate, and maybe sometimes even professional if you have a very shy ghost. Trying to put in some work for an on-reel, putting candles and everything, and then just watching them burn before the ghost ever gets a chance to interact always kind of sucked. When I was playing a professional or maybe even intermediate, so now this could help a lot of people playing those modes. Firelight and igniters will now be extinguished accurately in heavy rain. They will no longer be extinguished under house porches and inside small tents. That's good. Let's see. Headgear. Customizable key binding has been added to the controls page for turning on and off headgear. Let me see. A key binding. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm really excited to check that out, but let me see. The next part says turning headgear 1 on and off now will play a different sound to help know which state the equipment is in. That's always useful. And if you guys have seen me play Phasmophobia before, you would have noticed that I never use the tier 1 and tier 2. I'd rather use a tier 1 flashlight than anything, because I've always been in a hunt and thinking that I do have my flashlight turned on my headgear, when in fact I didn't, and I got chased by the ghost and died. And so it really sucked not being able to tell whether it was turned on or turned off. It was just very confusing for me. Tier 3 was always the easiest to use, and I always waited until I got tier 3 headgear. Let's see what else. While within range of a ghost event or hunting ghost, tier 3 will now have visual interference. All tiers will now play a new sound. Good. So that's another really cool thing that I was excited for too. So I've already gotten my gold trophy for the Apocalypse Challenge before this update, and now I'm excited to do this on this account, which is my alternate account, to be able to do the Apocalypse Challenge again with the new interference of tier 3 headgear. So that's going to be really fun and a lot more challenging too. Excited for that. All right, so let's look at Spirit Box. So small environment lights such as lamps must now also be turned off to receive a response. Oh, lamps as well. Okay, so not just shutting off lights or flashlights and things like that, but also lamps. Environment lights. I wonder if like candles are also included as well. Lamps now must be. Okay, so next one says you now must hold the Spirit Box to use it. With text-based voice recognition. I always thought it was kind of cheating to throw the Spirit Box down, but I think it's a good idea that you have to hold it in order to get a ghost response. UV lights, tier 1 and tier 2 have been swapped for better progression during leveling. I guess it makes sense. The tier 1 is the tier 2. Well, the now tier 1, which used to be the tier 2, was always kind of the trickier one to use, but there's a couple of workarounds like throwing the light in the air and making it stand vertically under the door or whatever the ghost is kind of interacting with to keep the doors illuminated. But I can understand why they swapped. This is what I'm really excited about too, the optimization of the game. So there's a lot of cool things that I think are being optimized, and especially like if you have bloom turned on, if you have ambient occlusion, and you're streaming or you're doing other things, it could really take a toll on your PC. And so the fact that they're optimizing the game in this way, is definitely going to help a lot of people playing the game, streaming the game as well. So let me go ahead and read this right here. So we've drastically improved the performance of several areas in the game, which will result in fewer stutters, higher FPS, and quicker loading times, especially in low-end machines. Good. The number of fixes and optimizations would be too many to list, but the following have received the biggest adjustments. Photo and video cameras, shadows, good. The weather and sky effects, that's really good. I always thought they're kind of shoddy, but I'm hoping I'm glad that they're making improvements to it. The UI, physics, audio, reflections, textures, and shaders are now streamed through the GPU to significantly reduce VRAM and RAM usage. Good. Tent doors cloth system has been completely overhauled to increase performance. I wonder how the physics are going to change. It was always kind of funny to play with people who were playing with VR and them walking around looking like robots and doing weird things that you normally wouldn't see people with, I guess like people on PC move, like the way they moved. So I'm hoping that the VR people, the models and the physics kind of get some love or not. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny to play with them regardless, but just big improvement either way. So here are the other things that we're going to look for, or that I look forward to, that I think a lot of people look forward to. So we talked about the main items. Now these are the optional items. Everything is pretty much getting an overhaul. Parabolic mic. So for the parabolic mic, tier 1's red light will now flicker when a sound is detected. So if you guys haven't noticed, when you guys are using the tier 1 mic, there's a little red dot. And the same thing goes for the camera too. I think the tier 1, is it tier 1 or tier 2 camera? I think has like a little red dot. But when you use this camera, it's going to start to flicker when there's an actual sound being heard, or like a ghost sound, I imagine, right? Because like when you go into places like Sunny Meadows, for example, that has a lot of ambient noise, I would imagine that, when you get a whisper, or, like somebody playing that map for the first time and not being used to listening to those sounds would for sure be fooled into thinking that, that's where the ghost is because they heard a noise versus just hearing like a door creak. I mean, not a door creak, but, just some of the ambient sounds that particular map has. Now, when you hear something, that the ghost, I would imagine that, when the ghost either whispers or knocks something over, opens a door slightly, touches something, that's light is going to flicker. So I hope so. I hope that's what it is, and it's not just whenever you pick up sound. Tier 2 and Tier 3 sound indicator visuals will now last slightly longer than the sound to improve legibility with short sounds. I see. That's true. When you use the Tier 3, there's something on the radar that, kind of shows up, and, before you can kind of like figure out where it's at. Like if you're scanning the area, if you're moving, sometimes it'll pick up the sound, but not the actual direction or the exact location of from where it came. So, that's going to be pretty useful if you're kind of scanning the area and not just kind of like sitting there listening. Let me see. Tier 3 can now receive sounds one floor above or below the player using it, with the new UI to show which floor the sound is coming from. That's really awesome. This is something I'm really excited for. Again, when I've been doing the gold apocalypse challenge, the gold trophy, I died so many times because entering that first section that right there past the bell, where when you pass the bell, there's the door leading downstairs to the morgue and the other parts. I've gotten attacked while passing that staircase, the door leading into the staircase, and it did suck having the parabolic mic, thinking that, what, I don't think there's a ghost coming through here, and only to pass by that door and just get insta killed, and it does suck. So it's really cool that they're integrating this, and I'm assuming that they would have to if we're going to start playing some vertical maps like what is it, like the Lighthouse, like Point Hope, or just any of the bigger maps that have a second floor, even a third floor or basement or something, so just something big to look forward to tomorrow when it does get released. Last one is you now have to hold the parabolic microphones to turn them on or off. Okay. Thermometer. Oh, this is not an optional. No, that should have been or I guess it doesn't matter. It's still part of the main items that you would use in the game. Thermometer. Holding down the use button while holding a thermometer 2 or 3 will now continuously update instead of having to restart after each reading. That's really cool. Okay. I'm assuming the 2 is probably just going to be a little bit slower than the 3. So you just hold it down and it'll kind of like move, the temperature will rise or lower depending on, like the temperature changes. All right. Tier 1 now has randomization to make it consistent with the other tiers. Tier 3 hold times have been reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5. Good. And I guess nothing for Tier 2. I guess it's down, still going to be pretty slow. Tier 3 randomization has been reduced to make it more accurate. Okay. Good. Tripods and video cameras. This one's cool. I like this one right here. Ghost will now throw the video cameras more consistently. So, if you place a video camera and you're playing with a duo partner or even by yourself and you go to the truck, there's a chance the ghost can knock it down and you have to go into the feared room again to set up and possibly get hunted. So that's pretty cool that they're making or that they're having the ghost throw video cameras more consistently. Tripod 1, Tier 1 knockdown chance has increased from 20% to 30%. That's annoying. Tripod 2 knockdown chance from increased from 10% to 20%. Okay. Sanity medication. Tier 1 restoration time has decreased to 20 seconds from 30 seconds. Tier 2 restoration time has decreased from 10 seconds from 20 seconds. Tier 3 will now instantly refill your sprint endurance in addition to keeping it full for 10 seconds. I thought it always did that, but I guess maybe the amount of time that it kept you full was a little bit shorter, and maybe they're increasing the time. But if you guys didn't know, the sanity meds, right? The Tier 3 ones, I guess it's kind of like an adrenaline shot or something. If you guys, I haven't done this before because, I didn't really need to, but I should have maybe there's a couple of instances where I'm thinking, you know, I could have maybe like made use of this, but the sanity meds, that tier 3 sanity meds, when you pop that, you know how when your heart beats, as long as your heart keeps beating, you could keep sprinting without getting tired. So now that it's 10 seconds, you can pop a tier 3 sanity med and be able to run for 10 seconds without getting tired. That's crazy. That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on. Sound sensors. Mute buttons have been added to sound sensors in the truck UI. That's so cool. Okay. Training. Let's see. Lower the temperature of training to make the freezing temperature section much faster to progress. Reduce the amount of equipment to 1 in each room. Okay. You now have to get an EMF 5 to get past the EMF room. You know, I never did the training. I don't think I ever did the training. So I'm not sure how I feel about any of this, but, you know, I hope it helps. Props will now get thrown more frequently in the EMF room. Replaced the glow sticks with the UV torch as per the tier changes above, meaning swapping tier 1 and tier 2. So the glow stick with the previous tier 2 UV light, the weaker one, right? Then the last one is, in the ghost orb section, players will now need to be more accurate with the video camera to avoid accidentally completing the objective without seeing the ghost orb. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. New. Oh, this is really cool. Okay, the new ID card badges can now be unlocked. Lighthouse Keeper, correctly identify. So there's badges, right? You see how you have like the ghost hunting recruit like on the top right, or you can get the intern one is the one that you start with, and then if you get prestige 1, you get recruit. Prestige 2 will be, oh god, I'm prestige 2 in the other one, but I totally forgot the name. Recruit, not intern. I don't know, I forget. Anyway, but they also have some, and you know, you've probably seen people with like the Easter, the 2024 Easter badge. Now they have one for the Lightkeeper, correctly identifying the ghost on Point Hope 50 times. And then they got the Apocalypse Bronze, which is correctly identifying the ghost. Take a photo of the ghost and complete all the objectives in Sunny Meadow with a difficulty multiplier of 6 or higher. The Silver, which is the same thing but with a multiplier of 10. And then Apocalypse Gold, which is the same as the above but with a multiplier of 15. That's really cool. I got to use that. Note. If you have already completed any of the Apocalypse challenges, you will need to complete a single game of any kind to receive your new ID card. Wait, hold on. If you have completed any of the Apocalypse challenges, you will need to complete a single game of any kind to see. Does this mean that I gotta do this again? I mean, I'm gonna do it on this one already. Because on this account, I still haven't done the Apocalypse challenge. But if I have to do it again on the other one, that would really suck. I mean, it's all right. I could do it. I have experience and I could run it again. All right. Okay, let's move on. Players can now carry an igniter in addition to 3 other items. Okay, awesome. So they're not considering it an item, which is good. Note, non-VR players can only carry 1 igniter at a time. Similar to flashlights, igniters now have their own slot in the VR belt. When placing the tier 1 igniter in the slot, you won't be able to remove it again until all the matches have been drawn. Okay. Unlocking a new reward that is not tied to leveling up will now show a pop-up on the mission summary screen. Okay, Ghost Writing Books now play new sounds when closed. Okay, so changes in the sound. Added Kate and Catherine to possible ghost first names. Ghosts can now leave single fingerprints on all small lamps and TV remotes in all locations. Okay, that's right. They couldn't touch any lamps or anything other than what I guess like footprints, right? Footprints, and then doors and doors, windows, and lights. Computers too. If you guys didn't know, you can actually get UV on computers. If you walk up to the computer with a UV light, you can actually get 4 fingers on there, which is pretty neat. A lot of people don't know that, but now you can get it on lamps and TV remotes, it seems. All right. Changes, equipment. You can no longer swap inventory slots while taking a photo. Okay. Removed flashlights from Hide and Seek Extreme as they were disabled from settings. Deja Vu. Weekly now has UV tier 1 instead of tier 2 to keep it a flashlight. Okay. Glow in the Dark Weekly now has tier 2 instead of tier 1 to keep it a glow stick. Okay, so the glow stick, the glow in the dark is still going to be the glow stick and not what they're going to be doing, you know, switching the tier 1 and tier 2. So you're not going to get the flashlight one. Asking the Ouija board, bone location questions will now drain 20% sanity, down from 50%. Wow, that's pretty high. That's a big decrease right there. Due to bone rewards not being included in the reward multiplier. Lighting the summoning circle candle will now instantly end the setup phase. Okay. Non-ghost writing ghosts now close the book after throwing it. Ghosts can no longer interact with already knocked down paintings. I didn't know that they could before. It's good to know though. Shades can no longer blow out fire sources or write in ghost writing books if there are any players in the room to keep their strength consistent. Improved the ghost's ability to interact with closed doors. Improved Banshee AI targeting when they stalk a player. All right. I wish to see the ghost will now limit your vision after the ghost event instead of before. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. To allow you to see the ghost. So you see the ghost. I guess before they give you kind of like tunnel vision for a very long time. When you ask for knowledge and when you ask to see the ghost, and I think so as soon as you asked for it, it gave you a sort of like darkened tunnel vision, so it made it very difficult for you to see the ghost. But I guess now they're not going to do that until after you see the ghost. All right. Increase the sanity drain on one of the ghost events to match other events. Oh, we got a lot. Okay, ghosts. Never mind. And we're on environment. Okay. So environment, paranormal paparazzi and hide and seek hide. Weekly challenges now take the place of Point Hope. Oh, they take the place in Point Hope. Oh, awesome. We're going to have weekly challenges in there. That's awesome. Drastically improve the sunrise visuals. Good. Turning on several light switches in a room, but not all, will now drain sanity at a reduced rate instead of the full sanity drain speed. Okay. Props that don't move when hit with another prop will no longer play an additional impact sound. Adjust all weather distance fog color for better blending with the horizon. Oh, that's good. That's something that I noticed. There was like a little bit of banding in the color, you know, when I played in like foggy locations, especially like in Camp Woodwind when you light a fire and stuff. I hope this helps. Removed Point Hope teasers from all maps and lobby. Optimize assets across all maps. Lowered resolution from lowered resolution for light cookies, flashlight shapes, etc. But increased resolution for skylight shadows. Moved the green bowl in Edgefield living room to help with the lamp interaction and new fingerprints. I guess that's where the keys are, right? The green bowl in Edgefield, like in the beginning, like when you open the door and then there's the stairs on the right and you have a drawer just to the side of the door. The Tanglewood utility room door can now be closed correctly by the ghost. Oh, okay. I didn't know that was an issue before. Honestly, I think I've only had one ghost in the utility room. Medium tent windows now have correct collision on both sides. Okay. Audio. Let me see. Adjusted audio effects to help identify if sounds are above or below you. Okay, that's very interesting. Sounds that are one floor are bass boosted and muffled. Sounds that are there we go. So sounds that are one floor above are bass boosted and muffled. Almost, I guess, like if you live in an apartment or a condo or something and you hear like people moving furniture or something, I guess that does sound a little more realistic, you know? It does sound very bassy coming from the top. Sounds that are one floor below will be more muffled and quiet. That makes sense because the noises that would be made would be like footsteps, and there's a distance between the floor and the ceiling, which has another distance between, you know, that ceiling and you standing on the floor that you're on, right? Oh, that sounds really cool. I'm excited to hear that. I like games with really, really great sound design, by the way. Sounds that are 2 floors above you or below will have more extreme effects and volume reduction. Okay. So the heartbeat sound will no longer be altered by reverb or other audio effects. Audio levels for the ambient room tone and Ouija board have been remastered to bring them in line with other sounds. Reduce the volume for the writing sound for ghostwriting books. That's true, huh? That was kind of something that I heard from you can sometimes hear when a ghost is writing in the book like a room away, and I thought that was always kind of silly. But all right, let's see what else we have. So the UI difficulty, money, and prestige level up. Pop-ups have received new images, improved color accuracy of several UI components, increase the width of the scroll bars in the shop to make it easier for VR players. Several ID card titles have been renamed and shortened. Changed interaction amount to activity level in custom setting to better reflect what it does. Okay, so the fixes. So we have both players and ghosts. Player movement will no longer be affected by held equipment. Okay, stamina recovery will correctly now start even if you are still holding down the sprint button but not moving. Okay, there is no longer a visual glitch when rapidly equipping and unequipping the headgear as one of the player models. You can now change your sprint mode while in game in VR. Fix several areas where VR teleport movement could not teleport to. Changing your sprint mode from changing the sprint mode to hold from toggle on PC while sprint is toggled on will no longer keep you sprinting without pressing the sprint button. Remove sprinting field of vision increased due to a graphical issue. Okay, so remove sprinting field of view increase due to a graphical issue. Okay, ghost. Hanging paintings thrown by the ghost will no longer fall through the floor. I've never seen that, but that sounds kind of hilarious. The ghost and bone can no longer get stuck in several locations. UA can now use their ability on doors that are open at the start of the game. Oh, okay. I didn't know that they couldn't. Demon and Banshee is attempting to use their ability, but failing will no longer add to the abilities use stat. Ghosts will no longer keep throwing the same object over and over, and will instead choose more varied items within the interaction range. Oh, that's really cool. I found it kind of like difficult for to be in a room with a lot of items. In fact, I remember a lot of times taking those items out of the room so that it could have an increased chance to interact with whatever items you're trying to get it to interact with, like a spirit box or ghost writing book or anything else, you know, like a light, firelight. Let me see. Hide and seek extreme now correctly has 3 evidence instead of 2. Ghost event player detection will no longer include dead players if they didn't move after dying. Okay. Oh, we have a couple more pages. Okay, so environment. The player and ghost will now correctly be detected when moving between different rooms and floors. The player and the ghost will now be correctly detected when moving between different rooms and floors. This will make evidence gathering much more consistent. Okay, Sunny Meadows reverb sound effects will no longer turn off while moving around in certain rooms. Okay, Maple Lodge cabin window fingerprints will be visible again. Okay, removed several locations where the ghost could get out of bounds in Sunny Meadows. Removed a spot where the ghost could get stuck behind the generator in Camp Woodwind. The camping chair next to the lover's bench on Woodwind is no longer white. Okay. All overhead tarps on Maple campsite now have rain sounds. Okay. Reduce visibility of geometry. Reduce visibility of geometry seams where you can see the skybox in Sunny Meadows. Key collection will now have the correct name in the journal. Window rain will no longer make things black when viewed from a certain angles. All Brownstone High School windows and doors now have the correct fingerprint material. You can no longer place equipment in the gap under the cabin. Lights will no longer turn on if you turn them off during a flicker. Okay. Added skybox blockers to multiple areas to stop tiny gaps in geometry that show the sky. Tanglewood, Edgefield, Ridgeview, and Willow. Let's see, sound. Wow, this is so big. This is a really big update, you guys. I don't think you guys realize how much time I've already spent reading all of this, but it's a lot to unpack. I think it's going to be really fun to play. Let's move on to sounds. I think we have 2 more pages before finishing. Impact sounds will no longer play multiple times at once. Loop sounds on doors will no longer play in VR while they are not moving. I think I read that one already. Let's see, UI. Oh, this is the last page. Okay, so UI. Skipping the animation when you level up more than once will no longer skip the previous levels unlock pop-ups. Challenge map names will now be correct. You can no longer complete the ghost photo objective when there is no space for photos in the journal. Oh, that does suck, but it's totally understandable. So a lot of times, people would just snap photos of salt and try to get a lot of money gathering evidence and whatnot, and you still had to collect a ghost photo for the objective. You were still able to take a photo of the ghost and get the objective, but it just wouldn't show up in the role. And I was kind of hoping that you can delete photos, bad photos that you took. I thought that was going to be something that they would include. It's something that was very anticipated by a lot of people, and I don't know, I guess it's not a part of this update, or may not be anything that they will consider introducing in the future. Who knows? Known issues. Here we go, the last parts here. Known issues. Diogen pathing can be inconsistent during hunts on Point Hope. Small items can occasionally fall through walls and floors in Point Hope. Oh, that's cool. Okay, interactions can sometimes repeat multiple times. MSAA will cause visual artifacts while dead. Well, these are all known issues, but small items can occasionally fall through walls and floors in Point Hope. Okay, well, it sounds cool, but it's probably going to be really annoying when trying to gather evidence and whatnot. But that's about it. I mean, that's the whole update. So if you guys were here from the beginning, listening to all of this, God, it is a lot to unpack, and it's going to be a very big update. So I'm really excited to try it. Point Hope map on all the difficulties, including any future weekly challenges, but as well as trying to do the apocalypse challenge as well. with the headgear update of the visual interference when, you know, ghosts are hunting you. I thought it was kind of a way, and not cheating or anything, you know, but I thought it was too easy to have tier 3 headgear and just always be able to look at the ghost, you know, even without, or it was easy to loop the ghost, and it was easier, I guess, you know. So I'm sure this is going to be very difficult, but you know, I'm excited to be challenged again. So that's about it for this.